Hello. Welcome back to Finding Spirit with Tabs. I'm your host, Tabs McCaffrey, and I'm a developing psychic medium here in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. On this show, I share my own personal experience as I grow and develop my psychic medium abilities, and truly everything and anything in between. I love sharing spiritual stuff. I love sharing the journey, things that I'm discovering, and hopefully helping others that are on this path as well. And I like to think of myself as a grounded and practical psychic medium, if that even exists all in one sentence. I think it does. I think I'm a testament to that. I like to approach everything from a very practical, grounded, even a little bit scientific perspectives. Let's jump into today's episode. We have a fun one, and this is releasing triggers and healing stored energy. This actually came up in a spirit guide session I had with a client yesterday, and I needed to make a whole episode out of this. Your mind's gonna be blown, and I'm also sprinkling in the science as to how this is true. It was mind-blowing. Okay, before we start all that, let's start with Finding Spirit HQ. What is going on in the next little bit? My next group mediumship demonstration or group reading will be on May 15th. If you want to save a spot for that, head over to my website, and on the front page on the top there's a banner, and that's where you can save into there. I typically do these as a 60-minute Zoom where I connect as many people as possible with their loved ones on the other side. I'll give a few pieces of evidence for who they are, and then once you know, I'll pass on a short message from them. I do my best to get through as many as possible, but there is no guarantee that everyone will receive a reading. And if you don't receive a reading, I promise that you will experience the magic of spirit and connection and a few laughs and maybe even a few tears. The next practice circle is going to be March 26th, so that's next week. It's coming up quick. It's a great place for you to meet like-minded people and develop your mediumship abilities, also in a safe and encouraging environment. These are held every 3 weeks, and they're usually 90 minutes long. I'll introduce a new technique at the beginning. You'll then have 20 minutes each with a practice partner, and then we come back to group and we can discuss anything you would like about mediumship and answer any questions. Now, if you have zero experience in mediumship, but you're wanting to learn and you're wanting to develop and kind of see what it's all about, I have a Mediumship 101 class coming up on April 12th. This is going to be on a Saturday. Lots of information, the clairs, what they are, how spirit communicates, how to develop. You'll also be given a chance to practice with a partner and unlimited time for Q&A at the end. So I think it's just a really good place to get a base for you to move into practice circles, and it is going to be a requirement coming into practice circles that you do have some sort of background with it or experience in it. It just means that you get the best experience and the partner you're with gets the best experience. I hope that helps. I also have added in one more circle. This is going to be an open circle. It is open to any modality: mediumship, tarot, Reiki, angel readings, energy work. All is welcome, no experience necessary, and this circle is a place for people to explore and practice what they're working on, the modality that they're working on. So if you're a new practitioner and you're looking for a place to work with others, if you are an experienced practitioner and you want to introduce some new services but you're still practicing, this would be a good place for you to meet other people and be able to practice. The first circle for this one will be on April 3rd. If you have any questions or you're like, where do I fit in? What do I do? Just shoot me a message and I'll be happy to help. And then as always, I want to let you guys know I offer mediumship readings, Akashic record readings, spirit guide connections, and spiritual awakening sessions. These are really good if you're kind of in the mix of it and you don't know how to get through it. That's where I can step in and give you some advice, help you build an actionable plan to move forward. I'll have all the links down below if you're interested. Okay, let's get into today's episode. I'm really excited about this one. It came up in the reading and I was like, man, this applies to so many people. This is actually something that we really need to talk about. I think we can all agree we have people or events in our life that trigger us, right? That cause negative emotions to come up. You may experience fear, anger, discomfort, sadness, overwhelmed, and so many more. I think this episode will bring to light some of the dangers of not dealing with our triggers, but also how to work through them so they no longer hold that power over you, so they don't give you those emotions anymore. This may not work for big T's. I just need to put that in there, and that would be dependent on you and your own personal journey. So use your discernment. This may not work for everyone. I found these methods very effective in my own journey, and I'm going to share some of my personal experiences at the very end. So this episode was inspired by a powerful spirit guide session that I had yesterday with a client. It literally shook us both. The information that they shared and came through with, I was like, wow, this is crazy. Also, if you don't know what a spirit guide session is, I'm going to pop a video up here, and I just shared it in last week's episode. I also want to state I asked permission from the client if I could share this, and she also has some input into the episode. She shared some of her own research that she did after, and I really got to shout her out and just say thank you, and I truly appreciate you allowing this topic to be shared, because I do think it's going to bring value to a lot of people on this journey. All right, I'm going to share a little bit about the reading and the messages that came through from her guides. They explain that she needs to work through her triggers instead of avoiding them. So she has to make sure that she's actually getting into these triggered scenarios, I'll say, because it's important for her to be able to address what is triggering her and how to start working through those root causes. They said the importance of working through them is to release the dense energy stored in our body. They were talking about it as more with hormones, but they were like, these can cause dense energy storages. So the triggers are like the signposts, right? They show us where we need healing, but really we want to make sure that we're addressing those when they come up. And they were saying that you need to make sure that you're not completely avoiding situations where these triggers come up, because you're not going to work on them. Like, you can't avoid them. You gotta work through them. Her guides explained how each time she's triggered, a chemical or hormone is released into the brain to activate the fight or flight response. These same hormones will flood the rest of her body and vital organs. Over time, this creates a dense stored energy in the body, and if left unresolved, it can become toxic and harm her, similar to how cancer can grow. The ultimate goal, what they were sharing, is that she needs to heal these triggers so the body no longer reacts and those hormones stop flooding the body and creating these dense energy storages, also helping her to break them up and release them. It was really complicated, but came out very fluidly in the reading. I don't know how to explain it. I feel like I'm still not doing it justice, but this is kind of the premise of what they were sharing. I want to do a little bit of the science behind it, because her and I were both like, we need to look this up after, and there has to be science related to it. What they were talking about is the fight or flight response and the nervous system. When you're triggered, the body activates the sympathetic nervous system, or the fight or flight response. And I think this is like grade 12 biology here. The brain releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline to prepare the body to respond. Now, there is an impact to chronic stress, this hormone being released all the time in your body. When this response happens too often, cortisol and adrenaline levels remain high, which can weaken the immune system, disrupt digestion and sleep, increase inflammation, and raise the risk of heart disease, anxiety, and depression. And truly, there's a whole list of how elevated levels of cortisol and adrenaline can have an impact on your body and your nervous system. The other sciencey part I want to talk about is the stored trauma and energy, which they were discussing. And they said it as like this dense energy that was being stored. So the science behind that part is studies in somatic therapy and trauma healing have shown that trauma and stress can become stored in the body. We know this now. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, she wrote the book, The Body Keeps the Score, explains that unprocessed trauma gets stored in the nervous system and tissues, creating a state of chronic tension and stress. And I feel like this is something a lot of people are experiencing right now. It's a very common thing. I think that's why a lot of people are seeking out alternative healing and somatic therapy and trying to heal the traumas that they're carrying. There's also an energy and health connection. Eastern medicine and practices like Reiki and acupuncture recognize that dense or stuck energy in the body can lead to illness. Releasing stored emotional energy through breath work, somatic therapy, or inner work can improve physical health and emotional balance. This is a lot of I'm going to say current study stuff. There's a lot of science coming out around this right now, especially in the last 10 years. And I feel like more people are approaching their health from this perspective. More people are looking at, okay, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Why? What are some root causes? And they're looking to alternative healing. So you understand the science, you understand how this all plays together, but how do I even work through these triggers? How do I heal them? How do I address them and release them? The first point you need to know is awareness. Notice when you are triggered. Pause and identify the physical sensations such as tight chest, racing heart. It might be anger. It might be like a fear thing right away. Whatever you're experiencing, you need to recognize it. The next is going to be grounding and regulation. So use breath work or grounding techniques to calm your nervous system. For myself, I used meditation. Through meditation, I was able to quickly bring myself back to, I always say like homeostasis, and that's what I found the most effective. But I think for each of us, we need to see what feels aligned and resonates with us on our journey. Next, you're going to place your hand on your heart. You can do it on your belly, whichever feels more comfortable for you, and take a couple deep breaths. This is going to signal to your body that you are safe. I often do hand on heart exercises for spirit guide connections, connecting with spirit, centering, grounding. It's a very effective technique. When you connect to your heart and you take a few breaths, it naturally calms you down. It naturally will ground you. And I encourage you to do this a few times throughout the day. When you start to feel your energy or your vibrations starting to just not feel normal, not feel calm. I don't want to say raised, but sometimes you just start to feel like the energy is just too thick or there's too much going around. You can do this anywhere, anytime. It takes a couple seconds. I also want you to think of reflection. Ask yourself, what is this trigger revealing to me? Is there a pattern here? What belief or memory is tied to it? I used to write these things in the notes of my phone. So when I found that I was triggered through the day, I would write it down and kind of reflect on it later. Sometimes this would happen while I was at work. And obviously trying to do all this at work just is not the place and the time. Note it down, put it in your phone, kind of reflect on it later on. That worked well for me. And then your next step is going to be releasing. So how do you release? Some simple ways would be journaling, somatic movement, breath work, or even talking it out with someone can help. Like, not that they need to fix the problem, but just being able to voice how you're feeling and what is going on. You do need to allow the emotion to surface and release it without judgment. Another few ways that I found good for releasing would be through meditation, where I would bring it up in there and I would be able to let it go. I would acknowledge it, I would thank it, I would say it no longer serves my higher purpose, and I would let it go. That was probably my most effective way of releasing things. Be aware what's causing it, accept it, and then this no longer serves my higher purpose. I'm letting it go. And through that, I was able to release some of the emotions that were coming up for triggers. A lot of the triggers I found that were coming up in my own personal life were not things of actual danger to me. And typically, I'm going to say that's how other people are experienced. They're not dangerous situations. They're just things that bring up old emotions from past events in our life. Now, over time, with this repatterning, your nervous system will learn that these situations are no longer dangerous. So that's what we're trying to get you to. Your body will stop releasing those stress hormones in response. What we want is that when those triggers happen, you're able to quickly calm yourself and not get into that fight or flight response. Now, why does this matter for spiritual and physical health? Triggers truly are opportunities for healing. Truly. Like, I know we all want to cut them out and avoid them, and we don't want to experience them, but by them occurring, we're actually able to start dealing with them. Working through them helps you shed dense and stuck energy. They no longer hold that control over you. Over time, you'll feel lighter and more emotionally balanced, and I can attest to that. Who I am today compared to who I was 2 years ago, totally different people in that sense. The physical health improves because your body is no longer flooded with stress hormones. I agree to that. You start to just feel different. And then the emotional and spiritual clarity increases when your body is not in a constant state of stress. So if you are on this spiritual journey and you're trying to grow and develop spiritual abilities, this is part of the internal work. You have to do this stuff in order for you to, I don't want to say you have to, but it definitely makes it easier developing different abilities and working through modalities on your spiritual journey when you are not carrying all this stress, when you're not carrying the weight of all of this type of shadow work, I would say too. I look at triggers as shadow work as well. But yeah, you just start to feel better. You handle life differently. You will handle situations differently. In my own personal reflection, I want to share, I did a lot of this at the beginning of my journey. I found I was being triggered almost daily. Like when I say daily, I used to put something in my phone every single day and I would meditate on it later on in the day. I did use journaling a little bit. I loved using meditation. I used my Akashic records and connections with my spirit guides to help work through these responses and understand why they were impacting me in the way that they were. I truly believe meditation is the best tool that I could recommend to someone because that's probably the one that I use the most in my life and that has had the largest impact with, I feel like, a really minimal amount of effort. You just have to get through the clunky part of meditation as you learn what it is, how it works, getting and learning to strengthen your mind and being able to quiet it. But once you have that ability and you've built that mental strength, it's simple. I don't need a 30-minute meditation. I will do them because they feel good, but truly, if I can just get 5 to 10 minutes, that's usually enough for me to reset throughout the day. I found that these triggers were popping up a lot. So in the beginning, I probably spent, I don't even know, like 2 to 3 months just working through triggers and past events and memories and things that brought up emotions. And now I think I have things pop up maybe like 2 or 3 times a month. They really do not pop up often for me. And when they do, I'm able to work through them pretty quickly now. There's like not many things in my life that I feel like I can't get through, that they're not going to be okay, that really put me into that fight or flight response now. And I really need to emphasize that you need to be patient with yourself, compassionate with yourself, understanding. Don't get too frustrated. This is a process. It's a journey. It's not like I do this and I'm going to be all better. This is like a lifestyle change. It's something that you have to develop. It's something that you have to work on. It does get better where you don't have to do it as often, hopefully, but it does take time to get there. Healing is a process, and every step that you make forward is progress. Understand that. Even if it's just small steps at the beginning, it's important that you take these steps and that you work towards healing yourself. If you struggle with doing some of these techniques on your own, you can reach out to a practitioner. So you could reach out to someone that does Reiki, have some energy clearing. You could also reach out to someone that does somatic healing. I've heard a lot of really good things about that as well. So you don't have to do it all on your own, but unfortunately, I do think some of the trigger releases you do have to work through. That's like, you can go and have someone else clear out the stagnant energy, but if you are not doing the work yourself, it's just going to keep coming back. And I really want to remind you all that your spirit guides and your spirit team are always here supporting you on your journey and willing to help if you reach out to them. I do have a couple episodes on that as well. I encourage everyone to build a relationship with their spirit team. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. This was really impactful on my client and on myself. Definitely. I told her, I said, this was a very mutually beneficial session. I feel like we both needed to hear what they said. It was just really interesting. And thank you so much. I'm shouting her out for letting me share this to the masses, because I feel like this information will help a lot of other people that are on this journey needing this in the moment. And then, yeah, if you need help with this, or you want to connect with your own spirit guides and hear what they have to say for you, I do offer spirit guide sessions, and I'll have a link down below. I have to add, she had very specific things that she wanted guidance on, and I think that's why we got the reading we did. Because she did ask, she was like, do your guides talk to you like this? Like, have you heard this? And I'm like, this is all new to me. I said, no, the conversations between my guides is different than what they were saying for you. Part of it is, I think we live different lives and we have different things that we're working on or different answers that we're pursuing. The depth that came from her questions really have me thinking and reevaluating maybe some of the questions I should be asking them for myself too. So yeah, that's amazing. Anyways, okay, well, let's wrap this up. If you aren't already followed or subscribed, please do so now. Give this video a like. Also, I would love to hear your own experiences. Have you worked through triggers? What are some methods that you have done for bringing awareness and releasing them? If you have any different ways that you've used, please share them. There may be someone that just doesn't resonate with my techniques that may be looking for another way. Please drop it down below, share them in the comments. I think we grow together when we share as a community. On that note, I'm going to head out of here. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as we both did in the session. And yeah, I will see you next time in Finding Spirit. All right, bye.